द सप्तर्षि स्कूल, जहां सीखना सिर्फ किताबों तक सीमित नहीं, आधुनिक शिक्षा के साथ अनुभवी शिक्षकों का मार्गदर्शन, हर छात्र के उज्जवल भविष्य की नींव। हमारी समृद्ध लाइब्रेरी में हर पन्ना खोलता है नई सोच और नए अवसरों के द्वार। खेल के मैदान में हम सिखाते हैं टीम वर्क, अनुशासन और जीतने का जज्बा। शिक्षा के साथ साथ खेल, कला और व्यक्तित्व विकास पर भी विशेष ध्यान। यहाँ हर बच्चे को मिलता है आत्मविश्वास और आगे बढ़ने का हौसला।
Hi everyone and welcome to Inside Our Classrooms. Today we are here to explore that what makes a school a place of learning, growth and inspiration. For that we have Dr. Mansima Kaur, who is the Academic Director of Saptarishi School. She is here to take us to the journey of truly understanding the foundational block of a good school and also how Saptarishi aims to alter the idea of education in the town of Dam. Hello ma'am.
Thank you, Darshika.
Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
So, ma'am, to begin with, how does the idea of Saptarishi came up?
So, Saptarishi is actually the brainchild of our chairperson, Mr. Manpreet, who is also my husband. So, he always wanted to open a school in his hometown. And I have been working in the field of education in different capacities for more than 10 years now. So, of course, the idea of managing and running a school was very, very exciting for me. So, it was actually in the year 2020 when COVID hit that we actually started talking about it in a much more serious way. And we started putting our ideas on the paper. And somehow those ideas came to life very, very quickly. So our planning started in the year 2020 and in the year 2022 we already had our first batch of students. So all our ideas and all our plannings aligned in a very, very serious manner. And that is how the idea of Saptarishi and the existence of Saptarishi came about.
So, Saptarishi is really best with a husband and wife's duo, and I think this kind of venture every couple dreams to have, because whenever there's an emotional breakdown or you need something that is not working, so if you have a partner with you, that works really well. Okay, ma'am, moving on to the next question. So, ma'am, can you tell us what are the learning methods in your class?
So, learning methods are something which keeps evolving. So, every year, every academic year, we experiment with new learning methods and we work with different combinations and permutations. For example, when we started in our first batch, we had a purely play-based experiential learning system.
And children used to enjoy it. So,
Children used to have a lot of fun, obviously, because there was a lot of
I have my
play.
own child studying in this, and I know
Yeah.
how much he used to enjoy it.
Yeah. So, but the issue with that method was that combined with the Indian academic system, we were not really able to meet the kind of learning outcomes that we wanted to. So, then in the next year, we had to make some changes, obviously, so that along with having fun in the classroom, children are also meeting their learning outcomes. So then we sort of started working with a combination of conventional plus play-based. And that is where we actually found our best combination. So as far as the teaching learning methodology inside our classroom goes, it's a 50-50 system now. So 50% of the things happen through conventional learning and the rest 50% happens through play-based and experiential learning. So, and that also sort of works in a way that we use conventional learning to sort of introduce the topic to a student to sort of, clear their fundamental understanding of the topic. And then we use the play-based experiential methods to reinforce that same topic.
So, ma'am, moving ahead, apart from academics, how much important are the sports, art, and extracurricular activities in your school? And simultaneously, how are you going to define the success of your student beyond academics?
I think co-curriculars are extremely important, needless to say, especially with the kind of world that we are living in. It is not just important for the child to succeed in academics, they also have to be good in other areas. As I always say, every child should be engaged in at least one art activity and one sporting activity because arts and sports combined really help in a child's understanding of the world around them. So, having said that, at Saptarishi also, when we are designing our annual curriculum, we like to give equal importance to co-curriculars. So, we do not see co-curriculars as just additional programs. We actually see co-curriculars as something which is going to support our child's performance in academics as well. So that is why when we are planning our timetable, our curriculum, our annual plans, we like to keep these co-curriculars at an adequate sort of time during the academic block. So, for example, if a child has an academic block of say 2 hours, then after 2 hours, they're going to have 45 minutes of co-curriculars. Now, what this strategy actually helps in doing is that whatever the child has learned during that 2 hours of academic time, academic block, 45 minutes of co-curriculars will actually help in reinforcing them. Because a child has just come out of a serious academic activity and now they are engaging in, say, sports, in arts, in dance, or anything of that sort. But all that information is actually playing out in their head, in the background. And with all the sort of stimuli that they are receiving through the co-curricular activities, that stimuli will actually help the child in setting that information sharply and strongly in their brains. So it is not just important to have co-curricular activities in the school. It is equally important as to how the school places those co-curricular activities so that the child gets maximum outcome out of it. And this kind of strategy has really helped us in getting maximum outcome out of all our activities. So if our child is learning how to dance, they're doing it really well and they're doing it with a lot of focus and a lot of interest. If a child is doing art and craft, again, they're doing it with a lot of focus. In fact, in the past 2 years, we have seen amazing improvement in children's interest in co-curricular activities. So in the beginning, the child that used to run away from, say, dancing, or used to run away from art and craft, now they're happily doing it. Because that exposure and constant exposure at that really helps in developing the interest of the child in that particular activity. So at Saptarishi, we like to see our co-curriculars as equal partners to our academics and not just something that has to be done and not just something that just has to be introduced out of it.
So Saptarishi has curriculums on the table.
Yes.
The normal, the academics and everything is on the table.
Everything
So
is
for
on
the
the
parents has nothing to be bothered about. Children are only into the studying
No,
stages.
it's not.
So I think that's the very much and hard task for the teachers as well.
Absolutely. So as a school administrator, my job is to expose my students to the maximum number of activities that I possibly can in a span of 5 or 6 hours that the child is in the school.
So now I have been to the lab of Saptarishi, the multifunctional lab it is.
Composite
But yes, sorry, composite lab. So now you have robotics and phonics and so many other skill-based learning in your school. So then how does your school is able to inculcate such kind of skill-based learning?
So we have a very simple method for that, Hanshika. One major innovation every year. So every year before the starting of any academic year, the whole team sits down and we brainstorm over the ideas of innovations. Because again, as I said, school is a very dynamic space. The meaning of education is changing every year. The expectations from education are changing every year, so a school has to keep up with that. So one major innovation every year, and with that innovation again has to be accompanied by adequate skill building. It has to be accompanied by if it has to be outsourced, then hiring an agency for that. All of those things. So a lot of our skill-based innovations have happened under that whole program that we have at Saptarishi of one major innovation in a year. For example, the last year our major innovation was introducing phonics into our literacy program.
So these activities are bound to some age or all age groups are involved in this?
I come from school of thought where I believe that the sooner the better. Most of our innovations, most of our skill-based learning start from nursery, even playgroup if that is possible. Otherwise, nursery is the starting point for all our innovations. Because
Phonics you had in the nursery also. Because I have my child studying and
yeah,
I think phonics is works like a wonder because the way my child in the class of KG2 right now is able to read the sentences in a go.
yeah.
I feel like literally these kind of skills are actually working with the children right now.
Absolutely, phonics particularly is a science. It's nothing.
It's logical. It's not only doing the rectification of the sentence, you have to put it in your logic, the sounds, the rules that you've learned after. So it's kind of English is only used to be b at a bad we haven't done it in our
Yeah.
schools, but looking towards our children and then actually doing it. And before we used to only say CAT cat.
Cat.
So now they are able to memorize the words, the sounds, and
as
they
well.
actually able to spell it without our help.
Absolutely.
Like cat only with the sound. It's so nice to see.
And it gives a lot of confidence to the child as well.
The wider question I'm going to ask you is, as we know, teachers are the crucial part in shaping the young minds. So, ma'am, what is the role of the teachers in today's school system? And how does your schools train and support the teachers also?
I think, and I always say this on multiple platforms, that teaching is one of the most challenging jobs that exists in this world. So, being a teacher means very different in today's time.
And handling Gen Z is a big task
It's a
right
big
now.
task. It's a big ask also.
We are not able to handle two. They are handling 13.
So, I think in today's day and age, the teacher doesn't just have to share instructions. They don't just have to teach. They also have to support their students emotionally and mentally. You know, the kind of world that we are living in, and there is so much of exposure and so much of with screens and everything, you know, a child's mind is under a lot of stress. And by stress, I don't mean that, you know, a child is upset or a child is going through something. No. Just the constant stress of living in a world that asks a lot out of the child. Okay, so we expect our children to, you know, be active in school. We expect our children to be active in co-curricular activities. We expect our children to be on their best behavior and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of demands. And all these demands creates a certain kind of stress in the mind of a child.
Sure.
So when this child comes to school, inside the classroom, interacts with the teacher, so the job of the teacher right now is not just to teach them, it is also to make space for them emotionally and mentally. And that I think is the most challenging part. You know, because till the time a child is not emotionally and mentally secure, a teacher will never be able to teach that child. And the child will never be able to learn what
Connect
is
more
possible.
with the teacher.
Absolutely. So I think in that aspect, the role of the teacher has changed a lot. And again, I say this a lot to all the parents out there, that you know you should be extra appreciative of your child's teacher, because that teacher is playing the role of a parent. She is playing the role of a mentor. She is a teacher, of course, and she is also a friend to your child. Okay, so they are holding a lot of space, and sometimes, you know, because teachers are humans as well, sometimes they themselves are going through a lot of emotional turmoil. But despite of that, when they enter the classroom,
With a
they
smile.
they with a smile and they forget all their worries and all their stress, and they are just fully available for all the 30-35 children in the class. So I think in that aspect, the role of the teacher has changed a lot over the years. And it is very important for the schools to support their teachers effectively. At Saptarishi, I think ever since we started, because I've also worked in organizations of different kinds, so I always had that idea that I want to have an organization which is open and which is also very positive. So at Saptarishi, we do not believe in micromanaging our teachers. We believe that our teachers know the best. we hire the best, we interview them, they have to go through a very long and rigorous interview process. So all the teachers who are selected are fully capable of doing their jobs well. So of course, be it planning the annual plans, planning the curriculums, the class activities, how are we going to approach different topics, all of this is decided by the whole academic team. But when it comes to the classroom implementation, we like to give a lot of space and autonomy to our teachers. And that sort of creates an ownership. So a teacher knows that, I am responsible for my class. Okay, and that my team, my management has this faith in me. So they sort of, really work from a space of ownership. And that culture is something that has really helped us. So our teachers are, taking ownership of the learning outcomes, they're taking ownership of the classroom activities, and they're actually doing better than we ask them to do. In terms of skill building, we do constant trainings. So all the innovations that happen in the Saptarishi are accompanied by adequate set of trainings for our teachers. So be it phonics, be it robotics, be it play-based learning, all these innovations that we have introduced in our classrooms were accompanied by a classroom, and we believe in constant skill building, constant upskilling as a team, as a management as well, and also for our teachers. And that, I think, all of these things have worked really well in terms of all our teachers taking complete ownership of their classrooms, their students, and ownership of the learnings of the students. And that, I think, is a very huge thing for any school to achieve.
So right now on the camera, I am a parent of Saptarishi school, and no matter any time during the school hours, if I have a major or a minor complaint regarding my child, I just have to make a call to the receptionist, and teacher arranges a class teacher for me. And it is so easy for me to sit at home and stay relaxed. And the way the teacher asks, the teacher is so flexible. They have such warmth. No matter what you say, what you have the complaint, they are so accountable and so answerable to you. I think it's the best part. I want to thank all the teachers of the Saptarishi for being so good to the parents. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, I have a very exciting question. Maybe your favorite, of course. What is that one thing that makes you proud about Saptarishi? And also, do you have any message to give to the parents for choosing this?
I think as a school administrator, the only thing that gives me immense happiness is when our students are coming down the stairs and they have smiles on their faces. So it's very heartening. It gives you a lot of validation that the children are happy in their classrooms. I always say that, a lot of people ask me what is the mission of your school and what is the objective of your school, and they expect me to say big words. And I sort of disappoint them by saying that I have a very simple mantra. Every student who is in our school should be happy in their classrooms. They should be satisfied, they should be learning well, and they should be happy, they should be stress free. Learning should not feel like this insurmountable mountain that they're not able to climb. Learning should feel like that warm teddy bear that you hug every day when you go to sleep and which supports you.
We're just trying to make children love studying.
Absolutely. They should love the idea of learning.
Right.
Learning shouldn't scare them. And I think that is something which I feel very disheartening, and that is something which I see happening in a lot of schools where the idea of learning a new thing scares a child. And I think if we are doing this, then we are setting our child up for failure, because you're not motivating the child. There's only so much you can force your child to do. In 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, in 4 years' time, your child will be a full grown individual with ideas of his own, with a will of his own. So if a child doesn't love the idea of learning, there will come a point where they will stop learning, because there is no external force on them. There's no external pressure on them, and that is when they'll move on a path of failure in life. So if you really want your child to succeed, a lot of parents say that we want our children to be successful in life. So I always tell parents one thing: if you really want your child to be successful, ensure that they are happy. Because if a child is happy, if a child is stress free, they are going to learn. Their brains are hardwired to learn. They don't know any other way. They know their world, they know the world around them by learning about the world, by observing the world. So, one thing that makes me extremely proud of my teachers, my team, our school system is that whenever I go into any classroom, I see the children are happy. The children are interacting with the class teacher. They're not just sitting and they're not just, blankly staring at the lampposts. They're interacting with the teachers. They're interacting with each other. So that is something which we strive for, and that is something which I think we have been able to achieve thanks to all the innovations and all the processes and all the teacher trainings and everything. Everything is aimed for a different objective. But at the end of the day, if your student is happy, then it means that all the systems are working in a sort of positive way strategy. And to any parent that is contemplating on choosing Saptarishi for their child, I would just say, come to us, talk to us, see us working, see our classrooms, see our teachers in action, and I think you will get answers to all your questions by yourself. I do not have to sort of convince you. That is why, for any new parent who comes to our school, the first thing that we do is to take them around the school so that the parent is able to see for themselves how is it that we are operating our school. So, yes, if any parent is contemplating, sort of, enrolling their child in the Saptarishi, we are always happy to have a chat with them, help them understand the needs of their child, and also give them a very detailed, transparent explanation of how it works. Yes.
Nice. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for being there with us today and sharing such valuable insights. And it was truly inspiring to know about your skills approach. And also, thank you to the listeners for being there with us. Don't forget to like and share this video with your loved ones. And still, if you have any queries, regarding the school, or you have any topic that you want us to take down in our next episode, do write in the comment section, and we are going to give the shoot out for the best one. Till then, stay tuned, stay connected for more conversations that shape the future of the education. Thank you.